3 days, 3 events, all in one venue. Welcome to the second day of the ASEAN Power Week in Kuala Lumpur. We learnt yesterday of the huge potential the ASEAN region continues to experience in power generation, and we understood the challenges they're encountering are just as enormous. We were also inspired by the resolute and grounded determination of the region's governments to push through with progress at full speed, while never losing sight of the necessity to reduce the impact of these plans on the environment.
One research challenges we are looking into both sides, the generation side and the transmission distribution side. The challenges side, as Malaysia also we are using coal as part and parcel of our energy resources, the fuels. So now the challenges in that is that we need to be able to secure better clean coal technologies. We are embarking on R&D and also looking at cooperation with other countries who already have a good clean coal technology. If we get that in, that's where we can be able to provide a good source of generation without polluting the environment. Our next greater embarkment is to look into renewable energy as part and parcel of our fuel policy. Renewable energy, we're going to biomass, looking at that, and we hope if that can be advanced, it can form a substantial amount of our fuel for our electricity generation.
Today we're looking ahead to insights and inspiration from some of the leaders of the industry at the joint plenary session, and engage with more industry professionals to talk about their technologies and innovations and how those can help in achieving the ASEAN region's power generation goals. Let's start this journey by talking to Sean Purdy of ERM.
We have a lot of our own training programs. We have software for analysis and modelling of emissions and water analysis, etc. We bring that, and we're a very large and specialised environmental services provider. We are also able to look at the total risk, so technical risk as opposed to just project development risk. In my experience, 15 years in the power sector in Asia, the highest growth area in terms of risk profile is environmental, social, health and other types of risks. If you like, stakeholder risk. People are aware now of what is going on in their environment and what can be done to alleviate the issues and improve their life.
We're here to really look at some of the challenges in the business, some of the challenges in the market, and really what can we do with those challenges and how can we turn those challenges into a successful value proposition for the client. An example of that would be looking at some in the environmental area, so looking at environmental concerns maybe with some of the wastewater challenges that a power plant has. Specifically in the area, coal is one of the prominent fuels that's used, and from coal, when it's used, there produces a slurry. From that slurry, there may be issues with contaminants in that and the way it's disposed of. So we have a number of technologies that can treat those contaminants and really produce a clean water that can potentially be reused.
Welcome back. One of the benefits of attending PowerGen Asia is soaking up the new knowledge. Knowledge from experts in the field who are generous enough to share real experiences. The traditional plenary session is one of the best venues for this. This year's joint plenary panel discussion focused on the issue of delivering Asia's sustainable power growth, the strategic and technology challenge, and was moderated by Mark Hutchinson. We caught up with him to get a summary of that discussion and his assessment on the various ideas explored at the plenary discussion.
I think the biggest takeaway is that there's a lot of divergence of views on the issues facing the Malaysian and other regional energy sort of situations. So looking at the issues related to coal, to hydro, to the high price of gas, energy subsidies. some very key issues that we didn't solve any big problems today, but I always think it's good to get an open discussion so people can understand the viewpoints. The topics that we're talking about are not going to be solved tomorrow, the next 8 or 10 years. But I think when you have these open discussions, you understand how the other people are thinking, right? And I like these discussions because then I get to understand, well, that's how that person is thinking, and I try to open my mind. And I think that the panelists were actively trying to engage, and hopefully the audience kind of understood and absorbed a bit, and thinking, oh, that's how they're thinking. So maybe we're not going to change overnight, but hopefully some sort of evolution through sort of transparency. The panel came out and quite explicitly stated that what we already know is that price is the main driver. Economics trumps environment, sadly, to many people, but in the current situation, that is the case. And I think the panel came out and stated that quite bluntly, which to me, I don't always see panels being so open and honest. People, they usually want to hedge a little bit and say sustainability is important, but so are economics. But when we raise the point, coal wins, sustainability loses. At least that's what the politicians are saying.
Thank you, Mark. That was an interesting and thought-provoking session. Moving back to the floor, we continue our talks, and this time we visit Siemens.
We have a lot of demand here in the region, and over the countries there's a different variety of demand. Definitely there is a shortage on natural resources in that part of the world, especially on gas, and therefore you have seen, especially in Malaysia, they are going now for the newest technology what is offered here in the world. It's the H-class technology with efficiency far over 60%. And we as Siemens having their references since long time, and we had also been in the last 2 years been able to sell to Malaysia 2 projects with consisting of 6 of the H-class technology.
There were 2 plenary panel discussions today. Running in parallel with the PowerGen Asia and Renewable Energy World Asia joint plenary panel discussion, the PowerGen Asia Financial Forum had a plenary discussion centred on the sources of finance, issues and challenges. We met with Joseph Jacobelli to tell us more about that panel's discussions.
It was a great platform, great event. In terms of platform, I mean, it really brought together experts in the industry. But most importantly, it was not a bunch of people that loved to listen to themselves talk. It was really sharing ideas, experiences, and most importantly, at the end of the day, when you're building a power plant, whether it's solar, whether it's coal-fired power plant, you need the financing, right? So the financing sources. And to have the opportunity for professionals from various countries in ASEAN and the rest of Asia to exchange experiences and thoughts about how to source the financing. Throughout the last couple of days, actually, that word liquidity, is there liquidity, actually came through quite a few times. And I think the conclusion really, it's a simple answer, which is it really depends on the country. But you've got a couple of trends where cross-border investments is also increasing. And you've got situations where if it's a state-owned company, needing to invest in their own country, obviously financing is not really going to be much of an issue. Another situation is a company going to a country abroad in Asia for the very first time and actually looking at multiple sources of financing. And that's a lot more complicated. Maybe you have a local bank, a global bank, an international bank, and so on and so forth. Makes the whole thing a lot more complicated. And this is some of the things that were discussed over the last couple of days.
With this, we come to the end of the second day of the ASEAN Power Week. Please join us again tomorrow for the final Video Daily news report of this year's events. We're looking forward to celebrating recognising your peers for their white papers at the White Paper Awards. Until then, Selamat tinggal.
Bye bye, 再见。